8 months pregnant, my parents invited me to dinner. They always favored me. But when fire erupted, they pushed me away and saved my sister with leukemia instead. Just when I thought I was going to die in the fire, my husband Andrew rushed in without hesitation and rescued me. He didn't even care about his own burns, but just looked at me with pity. "You are still pregnant. Now what should I do if something happens to the baby in your belly?" I thought I finally found someone who really loved me, until I saw the chat records between him and my sister Marianne. Wait a little longer. When she gives birth and gets the umbilical cord blood, I can save you. I took out my mobile phone without hesitation and called the hospital's appointment number. "Hello. I want to make an appointment for an abortion." I just got the abortion appointment form and bumped into Andrew, who is helping my sister Marianne to check. When he saw me, Andrew stopped. "Wife, why are you in the hospital? I remember today is not your prenatal checkup day." Andrew looked at my belly nervously. I used to think that this was a sign of his love for me, but now I understand that he only saw me as a container for Marianne's life-saving medicine. I just came to the hospital to check if. I feel a little uncomfortable hearing me say this. Andrew immediately looked at me nervously. "Where do you feel uncomfortable? What did the doctor say? How's the baby in your belly? Are the test results out?" Andrew hurriedly supported me and reached out to touch my belly, his eyes full of concern. Marianne glared at me with displeasure. "You can't even understand how to conceive a child." "I really don't know. What's the point of having you? If there is any mishap with the baby in your belly, I will never let you go." I took out the ultrasound results. I just took and handed them to Andrew. "The test results show that everything is fine. The baby is very healthy." Hearing me say this, Andrew was relieved. "It's good that you're fine. Then you should go back and rest. Marianne still has a few tests to do today. I'll accompany her until she finishes them." Before going back, Andrew's other hand held Marianne from beginning to end, without letting go. In the past, Andrew was too attentive to Marianne. I just thought because he loved me, so he loved her too. But I never thought that they were planning this. Looking at the backs of Andrew and Marianne leaving, I still followed them. I saw Andrew and Marianne enter the office of the director of the hematology department, who is also my father. Marianne's condition can't wait any longer. Now we need to find a solution as soon as possible. Andrew held Marianne's hand tightly. "Wait a little longer, it will only take 2 months at most. When Miranda gives birth to the baby and gets the umbilical cord blood, Marianne can be saved." Dad looked serious. "Marianne may not even last a month. Surgery must be performed as soon as possible." "Then do it now. The baby is mature after 8 months. Just then, someone came out from the corner. I looked closely and it was my mother, who worked in the obstetrics and gynecology department. I felt as if several knives had stabbed into my chest, almost suffocating me. It turned out that all of them were involved in this, and I naively thought that my parents finally began to love me after I became pregnant. But Miranda's baby is only 8 months old. Will it be bad for the baby if we force it out now?" Andrew suddenly asked, pulling my thoughts back. Mom's face looked a little ugly and her brows were furrowed. "The most important thing now is Marianne's health. Nothing else matters." I looked at the mother, who had carried me for 10 months and gave birth to me, and I felt a heart-wrenching pain. Marianne leaned on Andrew's arms. "Andrew, you care so much about her child. You are not attracted to her, are you?" Andrew hurriedly hugged her tightly. "How is it possible? I married her to help you nourish your umbilical cord blood and save your life. Once she takes the baby out, she will have no value to me." I was already in tears watching the scene in front of me, and I was still tightly holding the abortion pills that the doctor gave me in front of me. I looked up and put the pill into my mouth without hesitation. After taking the pills, I returned home, and then signed my name on the divorce agreement, and put the agreement in the safe. I was about to pack up my things when the door of my house was suddenly pushed open. I shuddered with fear. Andrew walked up and grabbed my hand directly. "Miranda, The doctor looked at your report again today and said that the child's condition is very bad. Let me take you to the hospital now. I wanted to pull my hand back, but found that Andrew's hand was tightly grasped by Andrew, and the whole wrist was red. I won't go. The doctor told me today that the baby is healthy. Besides, why didn't the hospital contact me directly? But you. Andrew's eyes were red, and there was still some anxiety in his eyes. Did the hospital notify me temporarily? Or did my mother-in-law ask me to do it? Even if you don't believe me, you should believe your mother, right? Just then, my parents came in from the door and my mother had a cold face. It's not your fault that you are not careful enough. Which led to the miscarriage. You go to the hospital with us now. Dad also echoed on the side. Your mother is an obstetrician and gynecologist. Don't you still believe what your mother said? I grabbed the door handle of the bedroom with my other hand. I won't go. It's already late today. It's the same if I go tomorrow. Besides, I feel good now and don't have any discomfort. My mother glared at me fiercely and walked up to twist my fingers. Just go if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? I'm your mother. Would I harm you? Since I was born, they threw me to the countryside to live with my grandparents. It wasn't until they all died, and the village committee called, that they reluctantly took me to their side. I've always wanted to ask them why they didn't love me, since I was their biological daughters. I almost used up all my strength, but my mother couldn't pry my fingers apart. Suddenly, my mother slapped me hard on the face. You better go to the hospital with me right now. If you delay the treatment of Marianne, I won't let you go. Half of my face became red and swollen instantly, and I smiled bitterly. Finally, the true face is revealed. My mother didn't think so. I don't know what you are talking about. I only know that your body is not suitable for continuing the pregnancy now, and Marianne just needs umbilical cord blood to save her life. Seeing that, I still refused to let go. My father also came forward to help Miranda. You used to be the most sensible. Now your sister needs you. Just do your parents a favor, okay? Dad tried to play the family card and I spit at his feet. Stop pretending Marianne's life isn't mine. Forced cesarean section at 8 months. There may be danger at any time. Seeing that, I was not convinced. Dad slapped me in the face. Evil thing. That's your sister. What's wrong with sacrificing a child to save your sister? It's not like you can't get pregnant in the future. Andrew didn't pretend anymore and directly grabbed my neck. Miranda, Marianne suddenly fainted this afternoon. And now she's waiting for your umbilical cord blood to save her life. You have to go today, Andrew. I'm pregnant with your child. But Andrew was dismissive. It's my seed's honor and mission to save Marianne. Otherwise, you don't deserve to have my child. I looked at Andrew's cold eyes as if I fell into an abyss. Mom and Dad, don't talk nonsense with her. Marianne can't wait any longer. Let's tie her up and take her to the hospital. As he said that, Andrew found a rope and tied my hands. With the cooperation of my parents. Hurry up and leave. If you delay Marianne's treatment, I want you to be in trouble. My mother pushed me forward, and I hooked my feet on the door frame and refused to leave the house. Andrew kicked my feet hard, Miranda. If Marianne can't be treated in time, I will definitely make you pay with your life. Andrew almost used up all his strength, and I knelt on the ground hard. I was in so much pain that tears were about to come out, and my stomach was also cramping. Be careful of the baby in her belly. Just hit her face. Don't hurt the baby in her belly. Mom looked at Andrew with some dissatisfaction. Andrew nodded repeatedly, and then helped me up with my dad like a little chicken, and dragged me forward. As soon as the elevator door opened, a tall man walked out. I knew him. He was Officer Burton, who lived next door to us. He had helped me catch a thief before. I felt like I saw a savior, and my eyes lit up. Help! Just as I opened my mouth to ask for help, my mother covered my mouth tightly. Do you want to vomit? Mom will take you to the hospital now. Officer Burton looked at us in confusion. What's this? My wife suddenly feels a little uncomfortable. She may be about to give birth. I will take her to the hospital now, Andrew said calmly. My My hands were tied behind my back by Andrew and my dad. Andrew held my hands tightly to prevent me from moving. I could only look at Officer Burton for help. I'm a gynecologist. My daughter is about to give birth. We can't afford to delay at all. My mother was afraid that Officer Burton would not believe her, so she quickly took out her work badge. Then hurry up. This kind of thing can't be delayed. Officer Burton immediately made way for us, and Andrew instantly breathed a sigh of relief. I was carried into the elevator, and watching Officer Burton turn and leave, my expectation in my heart instantly turned into despair. Little bitch, I almost asked you to complain to that policeman. You know that you are harming your own sister by doing this. How can you be so vicious? As soon as the elevator door closed, my mother pinched my arm fiercely. The piercing pain made me cry nonstop. Just then, my father's cell phone rang. Dr. Garfield, your daughter Marion suddenly has a high fever. Please come back quickly. After hanging up the phone, my father looked at my stomach with a heavy face. Mary and can't wait any longer. Arrange a cesarean section as soon as we get to the hospital. As soon as the elevator door opened, Andrew and my father couldn't wait to drag me out. Stop. Suddenly, a hurried sound of footsteps sounded. I looked back and saw Officer Burton standing behind us, with a serious face. My hope that had been extinguished was rekindled. Your ID card fell. Officer Burton trotted over and handed my ID card to my mother. Thank you, Officer Burton. My mother thanked him repeatedly and I tried hard to break free from my bound hands. Mr. Burton. When Officer Burton wanted to leave again, I hurriedly opened my mouth. But halfway through my words, my mouth was tightly covered by Andrew. Miranda, bear with it for a while. We will be at the hospital soon. Then Andrew dragged me to the car. As soon as I was thrown into the car, my mother pinched my arm hard. If you dare to cause trouble for me again, I will never let you go. Andrew rushed all the way and ran through 3 red lights to the hospital. As soon as I arrived at the hospital, I was dragged into the operating room. Looking at the cold operating room, I was scared and wanted to escape. But my mother directly took a shot of tranquilizer and injected it into my body. You just took a child from your belly. I don't know why you reacted so strongly. We are all family and you saved your own sister. A wave of tranquilizer entered my body, and I just felt that my body gradually became lighter. In order to avoid damaging the baby in my belly, my mother used a small dose, and my consciousness was still somewhat clear. Add the person to the operating table and perform the operation yourself. Andrew and my father immediately moved me to the operating table. You are breaking the law by doing this. Do you know? I shouted in despair. But my mother looked at me and snorted. You are my daughter. Is there any problem with me helping you with the operation? I gave you your life. My father rolled his eyes at me. You are an ungrateful person. We raised you up just to ask you to save your own sister. What are you telling us is illegal? Andrew tied my hands on the operating table tighter. I could feel the rope digging into my wrists. Andrew, please sign it quickly. I will start the operation soon. Mom handed a consent form to Andrew. Andrew signed his name on the consent form without even looking at it. I looked at the people who were called family members, and my heart was shattered. Andrew, do you want to go out first? It might be a little bloody later. Mom looked at Andrew with a scalpel, but Andrew shook his head no. I have to see Marianne's medicine being taken out with my own eyes before I can feel at ease. Andrew's words were like needles piercing my heart. In his eyes, I and the child in my belly were just a medicine. Because this operation was performed privately, there was no anesthesiologist. My mother took the knife and cut my stomach directly, cutting it open. For a moment, I felt as if my bones were broken. I could clearly feel that my stomach was cut open alive layer by layer. The whole operating room was filled with my heart-wrenching screams. No one wiped my sweat or frowned. No one even looked at me. You will be punished. I gritted my teeth and made a sound with difficulty. Andrew was about to scold me, but the next second, I heard my mother shouting, "It's out. The baby is out." Before the joyful voice sounded, I heard my mother's terrified voice. Why is the child dead? Why is the child dead? My mother's shriek tore through the sterile chill of the operating room, shattering the horrifying silence. The bloody scalpel clattered from her trembling, gloved hand onto the metal tray. Through the haze of the tranquilizer and the blinding, searing agony radiating from my abdomen, a weak, broken smile touched my lips. I tasted my own blood, but it tasted like victory. Andrew lunged forward, nearly knocking over a tray of surgical instruments. What do you mean dead? It was fine just hours ago. The ultrasound was perfect. Give me the cord blood. Just extract the damn blood. You don't understand. My mother's voice was utterly hysterical now, devoid of the cold, clinical authority she had wielded moments before. The fetus, it's been dead for hours. The tissue is already showing signs of acute chemical necrosis. The umbilical cord blood is completely compromised. It's toxic. If we give this to Marianne, it will kill her instantly. My father, who had been standing guard by the door, rushed over, his face draining of all color. He shoved my mother aside and stared at the remains of the child they had tried to harvest. Chemical necrosis? That's impossible. Unless. He turned slowly, his eyes locking onto my pale, sweat-drenched face. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The pills, I whispered, my voice barely a rasp over the sound of my own shallow, erratic breathing. Every word felt like broken glass in my throat. The abortion pills. I took them right in front of you at the house. Andrew's eyes widened in sheer, unadulterated horror. You killed it? You killed our baby? You killed it the moment you decided it was just medicine, I choked out, a tear finally escaping the corner of my eye, not out of fear, but out of a profound, devastating grief for the child I could not allow to be born into this family of monsters. I saved my baby from you. You bitch. Andrew roared. The veneer of the loving husband was entirely gone, replaced by the feral rage of a cornered animal. He lunged at the operating table, his hands reaching for my throat once again. But before his fingers could connect with my skin, a deafening crash echoed through the room. The heavy, reinforced doors of the operating room were kicked open with such force that they slammed against the tiled walls, cracking the plaster. Step away from her. Hands in the air. Do it now. It was a voice that commanded absolute authority. Through my half-lidded eyes, I saw him. Officer Burton. His service weapon was drawn, his stance wide and unwavering. Behind him, a swarm of uniformed officers and paramedics flooded into the corridor. Officer, there's a misunderstanding. My father immediately defaulted to his authoritative, doctor persona, holding his hands up placatingly. This is a private medical emergency. My daughter was having complications. Save it, Dr. Garfield, Burton barked, stepping into the room. His eyes swept over the horrific scene, my hands bound tightly to the surgical table with coarse rope, the lack of an anesthesiologist, the unsterile environment, and the sheer volume of blood. His jaw clenched in disgust. I checked the hospital lobby cameras after you left me in the elevator. I saw you dragging her. Nobody in labor gets dragged by their wrists. Burton locked eyes with Andrew. Drop to the floor. Now. She murdered my child. Andrew screamed, pointing wildly at me. She took pills. Arrest her. The only people I see committing a crime right now are the three of you butchering a woman on an unmonitored table, Burton said, his voice deadly cold. He holstered his weapon and gestured to the officers behind him. Cuff them. All three of them. Read them their rights. As the officers swarmed my parents and Andrew, pinning my screaming husband to the floor, Burton rushed to my side. He pulled a folding knife from his tactical belt and quickly sliced through the thick ropes biting into my wrists. I've got you, Miranda. I've got you, he said, his voice suddenly incredibly gentle. Paramedics rushed in, pushing Burton gently aside. She's hemorrhaging. Blood pressure is tanking. We need her in a real or stat. As the paramedics frantically clamped my wounds and started in 4-line, the edges of my vision began to darken. The last thing I saw before I slipped into the comforting embrace of unconsciousness was my mother, handcuffed, weeping not for me, but for her precious Marianne, whose death warrant I had just signed. When I finally opened my eyes, the harsh, fluorescent lights of the hospital had been replaced by the soft, dim glow of a private ICU room. The relentless beeping of machines surrounded me, tethering me to the world of the living. I tried to move, but a white-hot pain flared in my abdomen, forcing a gasp from my lips. "Don't move. You've got dozens of internal and external stitches." I turned my head. Officer Burton Adam, I read on his badge, was sitting in a chair in the corner of the room. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept in days. "You're awake," he said, standing up and approaching the bed. "I'll call the doctor." "Wait," I croaked. My throat was bone dry. He quickly poured a cup of water and held a straw to my lips. "How long?" "3 days," Adam replied softly. "You almost didn't make it, Miranda. You lost a catastrophic amount of blood. They had to give you a massive transfusion." Memories of the cold operating table, the scalpel, and my mother's deadened eyes flooded back. A sob caught in my chest, and I squeezed my eyes shut. "My baby?" "I'm sorry," Adam said, his voice heavy with genuine sorrow. I read the talk screen. "The doctors told me about the abortion-inducing chemicals in your system. Given the circumstances, it was a desperate choice. But it's what saved you from being bled completely dry for them." I looked up at him, the tears freely tracking down my temples. "Where are they?" Adam's expression hardened into granite. "In custody. Bail was denied for all 3 of them. The district attorney is having a field day. We charged them with kidnapping, aggravated assault, attempted murder, and performing illegal, unlicensed surgery. Your father was fired the next morning. The hospital board is doing extreme damage control." "They'll lie," I whispered, panicking. "My mother is an obstetrician. She'll say I was having an emergency miscarriage and they had to operate to save my life. My father will back her up. They're respected doctors. Andrew will say I went crazy and took pills to kill his baby. They'll spin it, Adam." Adam gave a small, reassuring smile and gently patted my hand. "Miranda, you underestimate the evidence. I found the abortion appointment slip in your pocket. But more importantly, I served a warrant on your apartment." My eyes widened. "I found the safe," he continued. "I found the signed divorce agreement dated hours before the incident. I also seized Andrew's phone and your father's hospital computer. The cyber division recovered months of deleted text messages. Andrew practically laid out the whole conspiracy to your sister in plain text. He called you the incubator. He detailed exactly how long he had to pretend to love you before they could induce labor. We have it all, Miranda. Their narrative is dead in the water." A massive, crushing weight lifted from my chest. I fell back against the pillows, sobbing, this time from sheer relief. The nightmare was over. I had survived. "What about Marianne?" I asked, a dark, complex emotion twisting in my gut. Adam looked away for a moment, sighing. "Her condition plummeted the night you were brought in. Without the cord blood, her organs started failing. She slipped into a coma yesterday morning." I closed my eyes. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumph at her impending death. I just felt a profound, hollow tragedy. A family completely destroyed by their own twisted favoritism and grotesque greed. 2 weeks passed. I was moved from the ICU to a standard recovery ward. Under the protection of a police guard stationed outside my door, and with Adam visiting me every evening after his shift, I slowly regained my strength. It was on a rainy Tuesday afternoon that my assigned lawyer, a sharp, empathetic woman named Sarah, came into my room with a grim look on her face. "Marian Garfield passed away this morning," Sarah announced quietly. I stared out the rain-streaked window, watching the gray clouds roll over the city. "Did they tell my parents?" "Yes," Sarah nodded. "They were informed in their holding cells. I heard from the guards that your mother had a complete psychological breakdown. They had to put her on suicide watch. Your father hasn't spoken a word since he heard the news. Justice was a heavy, bitter thing. They had sacrificed their healthy daughter, destroyed her life, and mutilated her body to save their golden child, only to lose everything. They were now stripped of their titles, their freedom, and the daughter they actually loved. Andrew, I asked coldly. He's frantically trying to cut a plea deal, Sarah scoffed. He's offering to testify against your parents, claiming they brainwashed him and forced him to tie you up. He's claiming he really loved you and just wanted to save his sister-in-law out of familial duty. Coward, I spat. Will the DA accept it? Not a chance, Sarah smiled sharply. The text messages we recovered show he was the one who initially researched the cord blood compatibility. He was the mastermind. The DA is pushing for the maximum sentence for all of them. A month later, I was finally discharged from the hospital. I wore a long, loose dress to hide the horrific, jagged scar that ran across my stomach, a permanent, physical reminder of the people who were supposed to protect me. Adam picked me up. He had helped me pack up my apartment, putting all of Andrew's belongings into garbage bags and leaving them on the curb. He helped me find a beautiful, quiet cottage on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by nature, where I could heal in peace. The trial took place 8 months later. Walking into the courtroom was the hardest thing I had ever done. When the heavy wooden doors opened, the flashing cameras of the press illuminated the hallway. The case of the vampire family had become a national sensation. I took my seat at the witness stand. Across the room, sitting at the defense tables in bright orange prison jumpsuits, were the 3 people who had ruined my life. My mother looked like a skeleton. Her hair, once perfectly dyed and styled, was a wiry, gray mess. She looked hollowed out, staring at the floor, muttering to herself. The death of Marianne and the reality of prison had broken her mind. My father looked aged by 20 years. He refused to look at me, his eyes fixed on the judge, a pathetic shell of the arrogant medical director he used to be. And then there was Andrew. He looked at me with pleading, desperate eyes, silently mouthing the word, sorry. I felt nothing but utter disgust. The prosecutor led me through the events of that day. I spoke clearly, my voice ringing out in the dead-silent courtroom. I recounted the years of neglect, the sudden outpouring of love when I got pregnant, the discovery of the text messages, and the terrifying realization of what I was to them. They didn't see me as a human being, I told the jury, looking directly into the eyes of a weeping juror in the front row. They saw me as a container, a disposable vessel. When I realized my child would be born into a family that would only ever use it, or discard it once it had served its medical purpose, I made the hardest choice a mother could ever make. When the defense attorney tried to cross-examine me, attempting to paint me as unstable for taking the abortion pills, it spectacularly backfired. Isn't it true, Miranda, that by taking those pills, you intentionally murdered your sister? The sleazy defense lawyer asked. Objection, the prosecutor yelled. I'll answer it, I said calmly, leaning into the microphone. My sister was dying of a disease. I did not give her leukemia. But my mother, my father, and my husband tied me like an animal, cut me open without anesthesia, and tried to steal my bodily autonomy to cure her. I did not murder Marianne. I saved myself. And, if given the choice to let them slaughter me on that table, or fight back with the only weapon I had left, my own body, I would do it again. The courtroom erupted into murmurs. The judge banged his gavel. Andrew buried his face in his hands, weeping loudly. The verdict was swift. It took the jury less than 4 hours to deliberate. Guilty on all counts. At the sentencing hearing a week later, the judge looked down at the 3 of them with pure contempt. In all my years on the bench, I have never seen a case of such profound moral bankruptcy and depravity, the judge's voice boomed. You took the sacred oaths of medicine, Dr. Garfield, Dr. Garfield, and you twisted them into instruments of torture against your own flesh and blood. And you, Mr. Andrew, weaponized the sanctity of marriage and fatherhood for pure, selfish manipulation. The gavel came down like thunder. My parents were sentenced to 30 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole. Andrew, as the instigator of the plot, was sentenced to 40 years. As the bailiffs dragged them away, my mother suddenly snapped out of her daze. She turned back toward the gallery, her wild eyes locking onto mine. Miranda, please. I'm your mother. Forgive me. I'm sorry, she shrieked, clawing at the bailiff's arms. I stood from my seat, my face a mask of absolute calm. I didn't say a word. I didn't smile. I just turned my back on her and walked out of the courtroom, letting the heavy wooden doors slam shut on my past forever. Epilogue: Scars and Sunrises. 5 years later. The morning air was crisp and smelled of pine and fresh soil. I knelt in the garden of my cottage, wearing an oversized sun hat, carefully pruning the vibrant red rose bushes that lined the white picket fence. My physical scars had faded from angry red to a dull, silver line across my stomach. The emotional scars took much longer to heal, requiring years of intense therapy, but the phantom pains in my heart had finally ceased. I no longer woke up screaming in the middle of the night, feeling the phantom slice of a scalpel. The sound of tires crunching on gravel made me look up. A black SUV pulled into the driveway. Adam stepped out, dressed in casual civilian clothes. He had been promoted to detective a few years ago. He walked over to the fence, leaning against it with a warm, familiar smile. "You're up early." "The roses don't prune themselves, Detective," I smiled back, stripping off my gardening gloves. Adam and I had taken things incredibly slow. He had seen me at my absolute lowest, broken and bleeding out on a dirty table. He had been my protector, my confidant, and eventually my best friend. Only in the last year had we finally crossed the threshold into something deeper, something beautiful and, most importantly, something entirely built on absolute trust. "I got a call from the warden at the state penitentiary this morning," Adam said casually, though his eyes watched me carefully to gauge my reaction. I paused, wiping a smudge of dirt from my forehead. "And? Your father passed away in the infirmary last night. Heart failure. Your mother, she's completely non-responsive now. Institutionalized in the psychiatric wing of the prison. She doesn't even remember her own name." I took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. I searched my heart for a flicker of grief, for a pang of sorrow. But there was nothing. Just the quiet, peaceful emptiness of closure. They had made their choices, and they had paid the ultimate price. "Thank you for telling me," I said softly. Adam opened the gate and walked into the garden, pulling me into a gentle, strong embrace. He kissed the top of my head. "Are you okay?" "I am," I said, leaning my cheek against his chest, listening to the steady, honest beating of his heart. "I really am." I looked out over my garden at the flowers blooming fiercely under the morning sun. I had been buried by the people who were supposed to love me. They had treated me like dirt, expecting me to simply rot away and give them what they wanted. But they forgot one crucial thing. When you bury a seed in the dirt, it doesn't die. It grows.